Hi boys and girls, welcome to Everyday Math Lesson 11.6, Multiplication Facts. The materials that you'll need today, pencil, notebook, math journal, and your template. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go over our math boxes from the previous lesson. So if you can open up your math journal to page 276. If you're noticing that you have any mistakes, please fix those with your pencil and eraser. So for our first question, 8 flower boxes, 4 plants in each box. How many plants? I filled out the diagram by putting the 8 in the boxes, the 4 plants per box, and I know that 8 times 4 equals 32. I could think 8 plus 8 is 16, and 16 plus 16 is 32 for double double. So my answer is 32 plants. For question 2, we have a 2 by 4 array with 8 dots in all. For question 3, show your work as you're solving 78 plus 26. So I know that 8 plus 6 is 14. I carried my 1, put my 4 below. 7 plus 2 plus 1 is 10. So I should have circled D, 104. For question 4, count by ones. So we had 5,099, 5,100, 5,101. We have 5,102, 5,103, 5,104. They gave us 5,105, but we have 5,106 and 5,107. For question 5, you should have used your ruler to measure each of the sides of the hexagon. Once you measured each of the sides, then if you add that up, you should have found that it was a total of 6 inches. So each of the sides would have been 1 inch. For question 6, you're multiplying by 2. Whenever we multiply something by 0, our answer is 0. When I have 1 times 2, my answer is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. For this one, I needed to divide. They gave me 6, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. And again, I'm going to divide, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. So if you can double check to make sure that your page is correct before moving on to the next part of the lesson. For the next part of the lesson, if you could either use a whiteboard or a notebook to write down the answers. If the speed is too fast, pause as often as needed. For our first question, there are 5 rows of plants, 4 plants in each row. How many total plants? And if you could write down your work or write down a strategy that you're using, press pause and play when you're ready to check. So I can think that 5 times 4, if I know 5 times 4 is 20, or I could have used repeated addition for this if I wanted to add 5 4 different times, or if I wanted to add 4 5 times. You maybe also made an array, but you should have had a total of 20 plants. We'll try one more like this. How many tomato plants are there in 6 rows with 3 plants in each row? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. So for this one, maybe I knew that 6 times 3 equals 18, or I could have used repeated addition again if I wanted to add 6 3 different times or add 3 6 different times. I could have also made an array, but I should have figured out that there would be 18 plants. We'll continue working more on multiplication throughout the lesson, but if you could put your whiteboard or notebook to the side and open up your math journal to page 277, which looks like this. So at this page, I am listing the times. You can choose which facts you would like to work on. So today I'm going to choose sevens. So what I would do is I would write, I'm going to choose the times 7 facts. And notice how I put a 7 on all of the lines here. If you want to choose 7 too, that's great. If you want to pick a different fact, then whatever number you write up here, you should also write on the lines. So once you have that written down, you're going to solve your problems. If you want to make an array with either boxing in the dots or using circles or X's for any of the problems that you need some extra help with. So why don't you press pause, solve this page 277, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, so I started with 2 times 7, which I knew was 14. 3 times 7 was 21. 4 times 7 is 28. And I did show that for each of these. I boxed in my array to use my dots on the side. Then I know that 5 times 7 is 35. 6 times 7 I figured out was 42. 7 times 7 was 49. And for this one, I just had room to do my 7 by 7 for my 49. And then for my last ones, I figured out that 8 times 7 was 56, 9 times 7 was 63, and 10 times 7 was 70. And I just had the space to solve my 8 times 7. So you should have noticed that you are increasing by 7 each time. So 14 plus 7 is 21. 21 plus 7 is 28. And as I keep adding 7, I was finishing with my list of facts. So double check to make sure you have yours correct before moving on to the next page. Our next page looks like this, where you can draw an array to help you find the answer for each of the products. So if you can solve, create your array, and then there's a try this too, where you might want to kind of think about 4 times 10 and then 4 times 5 and add those two up as you're doing your array. So again, why don't you press pause, solve page 278, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, so I'll talk about my page 278 if you want to check your answers. So we know that 2 times 4 is 8, so 4 times 2 is also 8, and my array looks very similar, showing the 8 dots. I know that 6 times 5 is 30, and then the turnaround fact, 5 times 6 is also 30, and I have my arrays, and maybe you have one of them turned. That's okay too. I know that 5 times 5 is 25, and I have a 5 by 5 array that I created. I know that 2 times 10 is 20, and then I showed that with my array. Now for the try this, so I mentioned maybe thinking about 4 times 10 first. So let me see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So first of all, I know that 4 times 10 is 40, and I know that 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm going to add my 40 plus 20 more to get a total of 60. So you should have had 60 for your answer. Double check to make sure you have your page correct before moving on to math boxes. Our math box page today is 279. I'll talk about the directions and I'll ask that you complete this page on your own. When you're all done, if you can take a picture and add the picture to Seesaw for your classroom teacher, we will go over this page in our next video. So for question 1, you're subtracting 72 minus 35, and then you can pick a unit that you would like to use. For question 2, you're figuring out the median, so make sure to put the numbers in order from smallest to largest, and then you can start figuring out that middle value. For question 3, you'll need your template to measure this line segment in centimeters, and then draw a line segment 4 centimeters longer. If I have a pile of 16 counters, how much is half of that? And how much is 8/16 of that? For question 5, you're figuring out the rule, so take a look whenever you see one of the solid lines, look and see what are they doing. Are they adding or subtracting, and by how much? And then when you see one of the dashed lines, figure out what are they doing. And our last question, number 6, you're finding the mode, so you're looking to see which number occurs the most often. All right, I'll see you next time.